The Good Morning America studio felt alive before dawn, like a city waking up all at once. Makeup artists floated between chairs with powder and calm. Floor managers traced invisible traffic lanes with laser focus. Somewhere under the soft, bright sheen of breakfast television, a pressure front formed that no one could see yet, only sense. Michael Strahan had been here longer than most. He skimmed the rundown with a seasoned athlete's rhythm. Scan the field, anticipate the hit, stay on your feet. He'd interviewed presidents and rookies, icons and newcomers, the broken and the bulletproof. You couldn't rattle him. He'd walked into too many locker rooms after too many losses and still found the words. Calm, precise, unflappable. If there was turbulence, he could fly through it. Today's guest was the kind of turbulence you couldn't chart. Meghan Markle, actress, humanitarian, a royal, brand, mother, icon, target. Officially, she was here to talk about a new wellness documentary and a related philanthropic initiative. Unofficially, everyone in the building knew gravity changed when she entered a room. It bent toward narrative. It asked not for questions, but for choreography. She arrived early and perfectly composed, an ivory pantsuit with just enough structure to feel regal, just enough ease to feel Californian. The smile was immaculate, camera-ready, with the sheen of someone who'd learned the difference between warmth and presentation and could toggle at will. She thanked the producers. She praised the flowers. She teased one of the grips about becoming a TikTok star. It all played beautifully until you looked past the frame and saw the voltage in her eyes. At 8:17 a.m., the red light above camera 3 blinked alive. "Good morning, America," Michael said, that familiar baritone wrapped in sunshine. "We have a very special guest today. Meghan Markle is here to talk about her latest work, her new documentary, and life beyond the spotlight." "Meghan, welcome back." "Thank you, Michael." Smooth, even, flawless. Always a pleasure. The first 5 minutes moved like a well-edited montage. She spoke of impact and intention, community and care, words that lived well on paper, looked good on screen, and slid past criticism with a Teflon sheen. Authenticity, healing, growth. Michael set her up. She finished clean. The audience smiled. Producers nodded. Everything on track. Then he nudged the wheel. "You've worn a lot of hats," he said lightly. "Actress, advocate, member of the royal family. I'm curious, when you look back on your acting career now, do you feel it prepared you for the kind of public scrutiny that came later?" A beat. The smile didn't move, but the eyes, there. A very slight narrow, as if calibrating a new variable. "I think it's reductive to focus on my acting," she said gently, "when there's so much more to who I am now." "Fair," he nodded, "but those earlier roles shaped how people met you. Don't they still shape perception?" She let out a short, clipped laugh. "Perception is interesting. People tend to believe what they're told, especially by the media." A very quiet pulse ran through the control room. Uh-oh. "I'd argue interviews like this are how people hear from you directly," Michael said, still friendly, still steady. "I suppose, if the questions are thoughtful." It landed like a fingertip on glass, soft, audible anyway. Michael didn't flinch. He turned a card, adjusted almost imperceptibly. "There's been a lot of speculation about your relationship with the press, and some say it played a role in your decision to step back from royal duties. Looking back, is that fair?" There it was, the microfracture. The smile held, but light stopped passing through it. "That's an oversimplification," she said, crossing one leg over the other with neat precision. "I left because I wanted peace. Because I wanted my children to grow up in an environment where their mother isn't dissected on national television. Ironically, here we are." "And yet," he said, tone unchanged, "you've maintained a very public presence. Documentaries, podcasts, interviews like this one. Some might say you stepped out of one spotlight and built another. Are you suggesting," she replied, the ice now unmistakable, "that speaking on my own terms is the same as being hounded?" "Not at all," he said, just noting the transition wasn't exactly a retreat. The camera eased closer. The audience quieted. Meghan's smile became a smirk, almost playful, not quite kind. "Unlike tabloids," she said, "I get to choose the narrative. That's something you don't understand unless you've lived it." "I've worked in journalism," Michael said evenly, "and professional sports. I know public pressure. And I know the cost of getting it wrong." For a heartbeat, they held each other's gaze, two people very good at being watched, neither willing to blink first. "Let me ask you something different," he said, changing lanes without changing speed. "Did Hollywood and your upbringing clash with royal expectations? Was there a culture collision you didn't anticipate?" "If you're asking if I was too American for the monarchy, yes," she said, owning it with a half smile. "And I wear that like a badge of honor." A few light chuckles from the studio. Michael watched, curious, calm. "And has that culture clash touched your marriage?" he asked, voice gentle, words exact. "For example, how you and Prince Harry navigate public versus private." "My marriage," she said, all warmth gone now, "is not entertainment. I'm here to discuss serious work, not indulge tabloid fantasies." "No disrespect meant," Michael said, still unruffled, "but people are curious. You've both become symbols of change. Part of that story is how you support each other." "Symbols," she echoed, almost amused. "Or targets." Silence thickened, not threatening, decisive. The crew held still, the audience's smiles faded into attention. "It depends who you ask," he said. "Some say you've reshaped public narratives. Others believe you've blurred the lines between privacy and publicity. And some," she said flatly, "just like to hear themselves talk." It hit the room like a hand clap in a cathedral. No one moved. One producer muttered, "Did she just," and never finished the sentence. "I hope I'm asking what viewers care about," Michael said, unfazed. "And I hope viewers care about what matters," Meghan returned, folding her arms. "Mental health, education, equity, not whether my marriage is tabloid-worthy." "Let's dig into what matters then," he said, "if you're open to it." Lines drawn. Polite war declared. The temperature lifted again by degrees. The cue cards in Michael's hand became unnecessary. Meghan's posture shifted from engaged to imperious. She sat back, relaxed, almost triumphant, the kind of calm that reads as victory until someone asks one more question. "Your transition from acting to royal life," Michael said. "I imagine there were parallels, scrutiny, duty, restraint. Did any of your past help or make it harder?" "You mean," she smiled, cool and diamond-edged, "did playing a paralegal on Suits help me sit next to the Queen?" "No, Michael, that's a silly comparison. Plenty of people pivot careers," he said. "I'm asking if the mechanics of visibility mattered." "What you're really asking," she replied, eyes narrowing slightly, "is whether I was worthy of the role. I'm asking if your experiences prepared you and whether you believe you were ready." He said, steady as a metronome. She chuckled, joyless. "Prepared for a family that treated me like a prop in their historical drama? No script can prep you for that. Behind the cameras," the director whispered, "let it breathe." "Reports suggested tensions inside the palace," Michael said. "Unconfirmed, but some of that tension," people said, "came from your unwillingness to adapt." "And those reports came from who?" she asked, voice dropping, dangerously soft. "Anonymous insiders who never show their faces?" He didn't answer. Silence was his move now. "It's very convenient to paint me as difficult," she continued, "especially when the difficult one is a woman, especially when she's a woman of color. Tell me, Michael, would you ask a man who married into the family the same questions?" "I ask what the audience wants to know," he said. "That's the job. And yet you keep circling," she smiled, all teeth, no heat. "As if I created my own problems." He turned one more card. "Is that not a possibility?" The smile vanished. The room held its breath. "I know what this is," she said at last, voice now icy and exact. "You're not here to learn. You're here to chip, politely. A chisel is still a chisel." "I respect your view," Michael said. "One more. Your relationship with Harry. Recent headlines mentioned separate travel, disagreements. Care to comment?" She laughed, loud this time, a clean cut. "If your questions are based on supermarket headlines," she said, "maybe you should be the one playing a paralegal." Somebody in the control room actually winced. Michael blinked once. Then he smiled. Not his TV smile, the other one. The one that says, "You just told the truth you didn't mean to." "I ask about your marriage," he said calmly, "because the people who supported you are wondering if everything's okay. If you don't want to answer, that's your right. But insulting the question won't make it disappear." Meghan's comfort evaporated. She shifted. The room felt it, a shared shiver. "It's funny," she said, lower now, controlled by force. Some people pretend to be respectful while slipping in subtle digs. You've got it down to an art form, and you, he said, still calm, have perfected the art of avoiding accountability. She began and stopped. The director froze mid-cut signal, hand suspended. Let's pivot, Michael offered, easy again. Your production company, documentaries, or scripted next? No answer. Meghan stared at him like a chess player who could suddenly see 5 moves ahead and didn't like any of them. Meghan, he prompted gently. I think, she said finally, mask slipping by a hair, we should wrap this up. If that's your choice, Michael nodded, but everyone felt it. The air had mass. This wasn't over. He asked one more anyway, not a trick, a mirror. You recently called the monarchy a dusty institution built on outdated ideals. Do you still stand by that? Is that how you want to end this? She asked. You said it, he replied, unblinking. Do you still believe it? I said what needed saying, she answered. Not everyone has the courage. And some might argue, he said, leaning in a degree, you walked into an ancient system with your own expectations and got upset when it didn't bend. I walked in as a wife, a mother, a humanitarian, she said, voice tightening, not to stage a coup. When I saw what it did to my husband and to me, I chose peace. And the book deal, he asked, surgical now? The docuseries? The streaming contracts? Were those about peace too? A grenade without a pin, no soundtrack, just the tick of silence. I'm not here to justify my existence, she said, gloss cracking. I have a platform. I use it. Isn't that the mantra, use your voice? Absolutely, he said. But when that voice comes with millions and global reach, it comes with scrutiny. You don't get to opt out of that. And who decided you get to lecture me? She snapped. I'm not lecturing, he said. I'm interviewing. Or I was no commercial, no rescue. The moment had its hands on the wheel now. You've been towing a line since I sat down, she said, pretending balance while surfacing every hit piece written about me. I didn't write them, he said, but I read them like your audience does. So now you're their mouthpiece. No, he said simply, but I'm not yours either. Silence, heavy, hot, volcanic. You walked in with a narrative, she said, breath catching. You wanted the viral clip. You don't care about my work or my truth. This was a setup. And yet, he said softly, you walked into it. Her eyes flashed. Because I believed this would be different. I thought you would be different. Maybe, he said, almost kind. You didn't do your homework. That was the point of no return. She tugged the blazer across her chest like the room had suddenly cooled. We're done, she said, teeth together. Last one, he said, lifting a final card. You said recently, truth has no expiration date. Do you still believe that? She didn't look at him. Play your clip, Michael. Get your moment. He didn't play anything. He waited. She stood, clean, deliberate. Microphone unclipped and placed on the side table with a precise metallic click that traveled farther than any shout. The heels marked time, 1, 2, 3, 4, off the stage, through the shadow behind the LED wall, into the hallway with its anonymous frame photographs and 2 bright emergency exit lights. A door whispered shut and still sounded like thunder. Michael stayed sitting until the room remembered how to breathe. Only then did he look into the lens. Well, he said, live TV, folks. Sometimes you get inspiration, sometimes you get confrontation, and sometimes someone walks out because they don't like the questions. The smile touched his mouth, not his eyes. We'll be right back. Fade to commercial. But the clip wouldn't. By noon, it owned the internet. The statements were predictable and immediate. From Meghan's camp, unexpectedly aggressive, disrespectful tone, personal attacks disguised as journalism. From Bravo adjacent commentators, tough but fair, unflappable, historic. Hashtags multiplied like cells. Hashtag Meghan walks off, hashtag Strahan stands still, hashtag GMA flashpoint. Reaction channels spliced the exit with the mic click like it was a drum fill. Commentators argued ethics. Comedians wrote punchlines. Think pieces pretended to be neutral and weren't. The still image that traveled farthest wasn't Meghan leaving. It was Michael staying, sitting in the near silence, hands folded, unshaken in a chair that had just spun into cultural weather. By late afternoon, the network's switchboard felt like a stadium. The overnights shattered, highest engagement for a midweek GMA segment in years. Sponsors asked hard questions and then asked for ad packages. Producers debated whether to upload the full cut or the edit. The public answered for them. Someone had already posted the clip from 5 angles. And somewhere removed from the noise, Montecito, blinds half drawn, a screen casting that cool rectangle of light. Meghan watched the replay she swore she wouldn't watch. Anger flickered, then sadness, then the thing under both, defiance. She closed the laptop softly and said into the empty room, "They won't get the last word." On another coast, city lights pricked the Hudson. Michael poured water into a glass and looked at the trending tab. The empty chair, the line they'd clipped, memed, and pinned. "You're free to leave, but walking out doesn't make the questions disappear." He didn't gloat, he didn't post, he didn't explain. He just let the moment do what moments do when they outgrow the script. So, what do you think? Was Michael out of line for asking what everyone else was already thinking? Or did Meghan mistake control for truth and break when she lost it? Tell me below. And if you want more of the raw, unfiltered showdowns where the mask slips and the room goes quiet, hit like, tap subscribe, and stay with Talkies Talk, because the most shocking scenes are the ones nobody planned to film.